Kerry, thank you so much for joining us today. Like, it's truly, I'm excited to interview you today to kind of go over what you've gone through in the last couple months, your progress. Um, like
Absolutely.
many students or many people that, come on to our private group or watch our webinar, you know, you, we invite you at the end to book a breakthrough session with us. And, you book that call. Before I even get into that, let's just kind of talk about Kerry's background because I think you're going to really love to hear what her nickname is. What was it?
I know. Can you hear me all right though?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Fine. There we
Okay,
go.
good.
Yeah, it went away. Yeah, tell us, Kerry, like how long have you been practicing yoga? How long have you been teaching? Maybe your style and why you wanted to become a yoga teacher.
Absolutely. So I started yoga. Actually, my mom dragged me to my first yoga class. We had hot yoga at our local gym, and I didn't even like it. I've been a dancer. I've been a dancer my whole life. So I found that it was a really easy transition into yoga. But at that point, I was like, I liked go, 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 lifting weights and cardio type exercise. So
Yeah.
the sitting really and the peace of mind really challenged me personally. I got back into it a number of years later, and at that point, I was also teaching dance, um, and I got my first certification as a group fitness instructor over 10 years ago. And so I was sort of already in that
Kerry,
world.
you
I
look
started
young as crap. How the heck do you have your personal like for the this training 10 years ago? I mean, I'm not gonna ask.
when I was,
I'm not. I don't ask women how old they are, but I mean, that's pretty awesome that 10 years ago you actually became a fitness instructor. Like, so was that, you're in Virginia right now? Was that in the same place?
Maryland, and yes,
Okay.
yeah, it was. And I taught here and there, and then, I started teaching dance, and then after I graduated college, I was working full time at a job that was not for me. I could not sit in an office. So I gave that up. I started pursuing teaching full time. So I was like, I would walk up the stairs to work and I'd be like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. And I'd go to teach and I'd say, I love this so much, I'd do it for free. And I was like, why am I not doing this? So I left my full time job and I started teaching more classes at the gym. That's when I started taking on yoga classes, and I was teaching at the dance studio at that time still. So, sort of like one thing followed the next. I ended up getting my yoga certification, and what really my personal transformation was more through meditation. That was what made the biggest change in who I was. So after I brought that into my life, I was like, I know this is my path, and now I'm here.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I mean,
Plus a few more steps.
there's a lot that comes up, because I think that what you've just shared is such a common experience for so many teachers. I too had a very awkward experience for my first yoga class, so it's kind of surprising that I'm here. But
Yeah,
you said that I love this so much that I would do it for free, and I
yep,
feel like that is what most teachers, in a lot of ways, they feel the exact same way. They love it so much that they would do it for free. And
exactly.
we'll come back to that because that's a
Yeah.
big topic right there. So
Yeah.
as I was saying in the beginning, is that the business model that we teach is to hone in on your niche, to hone in on your perfect client, to create a signature program, something that really helps your perfect client change their life. And we show you how to truly leverage your voice through using webinars. Well, Kerry, you had clicked on our Facebook ad that took you to our webinar, and at the end, you had booked a breakthrough strategy session with our team, which we give that invitation at the end. What was it that made you want to invest in a yoga marketing and business course? Like what kind of spoke to you into that?
So this process started, and when you and I talked on the phone, this came up. I realize now everything is put in my path that I need before I even know that I need it. to push me in the direction that is a higher contribution to people, to be able to give more and to be able to give a better value. And so forever my mindset had been money's not my goal. And I landed in a class. It was sort of like almost a book club type of experience. We went through the book Think and Grow Rich. And when I started reading that book, my mindset was still money's not my goal. And I started going through the exercises more for what my personal goals were. But then through the course of that book, I also came across a podcast that really made me examine my conditioned beliefs around money and around business and around marketing and how they had created a life of financial stress for me because I didn't make money. As simple as it is, I had the epiphany that in order to make money, I needed to want to make money.
Hey, that's a
Duh.
big step. I know it's funny, but that's such a big step that many of us, we have to take that step. We have to be able to give ourselves permission to go after and make money, and that's an important step.
Right.
In that
I
book,
think,
by the way, I've only recommended 2 books my whole life. Think and Grow Rich is number one. And a lot of yoga teachers, they hear that and they're like, oh, screw that. That's all about money. No, it's not. It's about 13 chapters about developing faith in yourself. And money just happens to be, a part of the conversation. Um,
right.
so, well,
So
let's talk about
then
Oh, go ahead, please.
so that made me realize what my thoughts were around money and how that was, negative thoughts around it made me not make that a goal. And then so after this podcast, I sort of re-examined my beliefs. And then a month later, after reading the book, I saw this advertisement and I watched the webinar and I was like, fantastic. This is what I want to do. And I booked the call and I just felt like, okay, I felt like this was another thing in my path to help push me into where I was going, which even though you don't know at sometimes, just sort of follow with faith.
Well, and I'm obviously incredibly grateful that you booked that call. And the one thing that I've realized is that when we speak to yoga teachers, sometimes we're just starting the conversation with them about how to start coming to peace with money. So like even when we invite people to book a call with us at the end, they're not there yet. But the thing, if I do one thing in this world, it's I want to help yoga teachers come to peace with charging for what they do, because what we offer this world is so freaking beautiful, and it's true. Yoga is going to heal this planet. The divine feminine is going to heal this planet, and in order for us to do that, we have to learn marketing so that we can reach more and more people. And if we're still having this kind of like block with money, it's going to continue to come up. And I don't want to spend too much time on money, but at the same time, we all recognize that money is just an energy. Just like business is an energy, marketing is an energy, sales is energy, and it's only the energy that we bring to it. So it's like a
Exactly.
brick. I talk about it all the time. It's like money is like a brick. You can begin to build a home with it, or you can throw it through a window. It takes on the energy of that person. And so
Exactly.
I'm glad that you kind of had the courage to start looking at the topic of money and to start to come to some peace around that.
Absolutely.
You joined the Yoga Mastermind, and we're so transparent, in our webinar about getting very clear about your niche and your perfect client. We do the same thing, obviously, in the Yoga Mastermind coaching program. How was that process for you in terms of determining your niche, like honing in on your niche and who your perfect client is?
It was another thing of following my intuition because of what pulled me back into yoga. What made me connect as a student again was that I had pain resurface from an unhealthy relationship I had had in my past. And then right when I enrolled in the program, a relationship ended. I got my heart broken. And I felt like it can't be coincidence that these two things happen, around what brings me into yoga and then what pulls me further into my career as a teacher, both having to do with this issue of pain from a relationship. And the person, me as a student, when I came back to yoga and had pain resurface, I'm not the same person as what I went through a couple months ago. And how I was able to deal with that pain with bringing in awareness, bringing in all the tools that I have learned as a teacher, and being able to process my pain in what I felt like was a really healthy, in line with the path of yoga. I felt like this is something that I need to share with people because it's not often that we can look through a breakup and think, wow, I'm proud of the person that I was going through that process, but that's how I feel. I'm proud of how much I grew in the way that I handled all of it, and how much I decided to take that time, that experience, and invest more in me and my growth. And so I wanted to share that with other people, get through their emotional pain in a holistic way through meditation, and then recreate their life.
Well, tell people real quickly, what is your niche?
My niche is yoga for people who have going through a breakup, separation, or divorce.
Oh my God. I mean, like, just even hearing that, and my mind quickly goes through all of those painful breakups and what I would do to try to get over them. Like, there was a book called, I think, Letting Go that I read at one
Mm-hmm.
point in time. And it was funny because it would say, like, if you were thinking about this person, you would, like, pinch yourself. So you would begin to associate, like, thinking about the person with, like, kind of
Yeah.
uncomfortableness, so that you would train your brain not to think about them anymore.
Wow.
And I'm like, all right, after like the 700th time of like pinching myself, I'm like, I'm done with this.
Yeah, exactly. It's
But
already painful enough to have the memories. I don't think you need the physical pain associated with it.
there you go. Now I'm like having flashbacks of like listening to like being in the bathtub with candles and listening to Sarah McLachlan and
Tubs of ice cream. Right.
Well, instead of diving into my past breakup experiences, which are not going to be pretty, you again, we teach you how to hone in on your niche and your perfect client. So just very quickly, how was that experience for you, like figuring out your niche? Was it something that came very like just immediately, or was it something that you had to spend some time with?
No, it was immediate because I had had that experience right before I started the program. I had just had that experience again, and I was like, I hear you. I understand that this is supposed to be, that this experience is tied to my path in yoga. So I knew that was going to be my niche. I listened to that. And then as far as, you know, you gave all the tools for how to define what your perfect client is within that niche and how to create that person in your mind. And again and again, from different sources, I listen to a lot of different entrepreneurs. They drive that message into what is your perfect client, and you're speaking to them each time you create something, you create content for that person. So I felt that with my intuition or my faith in the signals I was given in my life, and with what you gave us to help design the avatar of our perfect client, it was an easy process almost.
Well, you're rare. You are rare because a lot of people do have a lot of issues in terms of figuring out their niche, and I often find it's because we're getting in our heads about it as opposed to our hearts. Because
Hmm.
we're trying to figure out, okay, well, what do I think the market would want? What do I
Right.
think would really sell? And it's like, no, you're in the wrong
Hmm.
space. Because what we're connecting with is, what are you passionate about teaching? And so, real quick, I was teaching in a healer's retreat in Costa Rica about 5 weeks ago on how to do what you love for a living. I'm doing the talk, and the first question I get from someone, they're like, listen, I get that I want to do what I'm passionate about for a living. I get it. But I don't know what I'm passionate about. And it's kind of like the same
Wow.
thing about figuring out your niche. Well, I said, you know what? It first begins with the belief that you will figure it out. You need to
Yeah.
believe that you will figure out your niche. You need to believe that you're going to figure out what's perfect for you. Same thing with what you're
Hmm.
passionate about. And again, you're a rare case in terms of just figuring out your niche like very quickly, but it's awesome. I mean, it's sometimes it just happens quickly like that. And for some other people, they have to sit and think with it. I'll mention very quickly that if you're struggling with figuring out your niche, ask your friends and family. Get out of your own head and ask them what they think, like would be a good niche for you. And people will be
Yeah.
amazed at the answers that they get. I mean, I didn't even know my niche until actually I spoke to a coach and they're like, why don't you do this? And it was like right underneath my nose. I'm like, oh my God, yeah, I should do that.
Yeah.
Um, so,
And I think you hit the nail on the head though, Ryan, when you said listen to your heart. I mean, that was the process for me, was being like, I trust that this I was given signs, or that I was, it's like sometimes we get the message so confused because, like you said, you're trying to interpret it in your brain and you don't listen enough to, if you're trying to figure out what you're passionate about, ask the question and then say, I'm listening. And then wait for the sign to come, or, be open to it. And I felt that I was open to feeling like this was it, and didn't get stuck in my head about it. So,
well, I've always said that your success as a teacher, the two biggest important factors is number one, faith in yourself. And that comes just along with you're going to have faith that you're going to figure out your niche. You're going to figure out the thing that you love to teach that's going to be perfect for you. You're going to have faith that you're going to figure out who your perfect client is, the person that you really want to serve. Because, Kerry, I mean, I'm glad that you got it. I mean, some people don't. They don't understand, why do I want to have a perfect client? Well, for instance, Kerry's niche is yoga for breakups, separations, and divorces. Well, I'm sure she doesn't necessarily want to work with everybody that's going through a breakup. You might not connect with the guy who's 67 years old that, like,
right.
it just no and that's what one of the things that we do when we get clear about our perfect client is, it's not just like, okay, what are their pain points, what are they going through in life, but it's also the demographics. Okay, well, who do I love to work with? And if we're honest with ourselves, often we like to work within a window of ages that are close to us. I mean, some
Hmm.
people like to work with much people that are younger, but we have to honor who it is that we feel called to serve, because that's going to influence the success of that coaching relationship. And
Hmm.
so you,
Absolutely.
so take us, at this point, you figured out your niche, you figured out your perfect client, you created your signature program specifically for people who are going through breakups, separations, and divorces. What has been the most challenging part for you in terms of creating this business model? Like, what's been the most challenging for you?
Facing my fears, facing my fears still around money. Whenever you start to build a business, you have to invest in money without maybe necessarily the guarantee of it coming in.
Yeah.
And so having to have more faith, having to put myself out there, being vulnerable, putting out ads, and facing my own fear of judgment. Having to, deal with the roller coaster that is trying to believe in yourself, which there are days when you're up and there are days when you're down,
Yeah.
and so dealing with my mindset every single day, putting stuff around my house, messages that create the mindset that I want to have. That was the most challenging.
Um, I get emotional sometimes when I hear my clients' success, and when they go through challenges and they keep moving forward, because I'm not just trying to teach people how to grow their yoga business. I mean, yes, that's definitely, it's such an important part, but I want people to grow as a person. And
Mm-hmm.
often you growing as a person and you growing your yoga business, they go hand in hand, you know?
Yep.
And mindset is such an important piece of this. And I feel like there's probably yoga teachers who are gonna listen to this talk, and they're at that point where they're like, you know what, I do want to do something. I do want to grow my yoga teaching business. But just like you said, there's still kind of like those veils that are holding us back from really 100% going forward. with trying to
Yep.
grow our yoga business. And one of them, big one, money. You know,
Yep.
whether it be investing in a coaching program or simply just allowing ourselves to accept abundance, allowing ourselves to actually make more money. And
Mm-hmm.
so that was a real pivotal point, obviously, for you, was that you began to come to peace with money and allow yourself to go after it. Now, it doesn't mean that, you know, when you joined this program, you still had some kind of issues with, wait, do I deserve this amount of money? You know, do I deserve like maybe
Mm-hmm.
success? You know, there's so many different
Right.
mindset issues that come up. And I'm so glad
Mm-hmm.
that you said that's the most challenging part for you, because if you're going to grow your yoga business, there obviously has to be this willingness to actually share what you're doing. You have to learn
Mm-hmm.
marketing and begin to share that message with other people. A lot of us as yoga teachers were like, well, I don't want to feed my ego. I don't want to self promote. I don't want to make this about me. You're not. You're making it about yoga. That's
Right.
it. We're making it about yoga. It's not about us. It's about
Mm-hmm.
literally just spreading the message of yoga. We have to put our attention back on that. It's not about building the ego. It's not about, hey, look at me. But that's the first step, is the willingness to actually have courage enough to share our message, to actually to reach
Mm-hmm.
people.
Absolutely.
What would you say in this process that you're most grateful for? You know, from literally like starting a yoga, you've already been a yoga teacher. You were just basically getting smarter now about how you grow your business. And the first step again was your niche, or your niche. I'm sure there's people across the pond who are like cringing at me saying niche. You had to figure out your perfect client, and then you created a signature program that is specifically tailored for who you want to serve, that person that's going through a breakup and that
Mm-hmm.
needs your signature program to really begin to help them heal their lives.
Mm-hmm.
You launch your signature program, and that's where you're at right now. You've launched it. You've gotten a few clients that have come on
Mm-hmm.
into your signature program. What would you say during that process that you're most grateful for?
What am I most grateful for? That's going to be tough because, well,
Whatever comes up.
okay, there's a lot. Number one, I am grateful, Ryan, for how much you've provided. You gave so much so that we didn't have to start from a blank slate, so that you go in and already have an outline of how to create something that is meaningful, that is, I mean, it's straightforward, step by step. That is I'm so grateful for you for doing that, truly. Even from like doing the webinar. I mean, exactly what we want to walk the person through in the webinar to feel like we're really delivering our message in a way that's going to resonate with them. That was amazing. How many tools were available? The amount of growth that I went through as a person, personally. How much I've learned about myself, how much I'm becoming the person I need to be in order to fill this role. And then finally, having clients has been the most beautiful thing. Like, I don't want to cry, but being able to talk to people and feel like I'm making a difference, the fact that I am bringing meditation into their life and helping them find a bit what I want, my ultimate goal would be to transform the foundation of people's life into one of peace. And I believe that a steady meditation practice can absolutely do that. That although we have things in life that are going to come up and are going to be hard and painful, that when you connect with your peace on a regular basis, that becomes your foundation. And if I can create that in people's life, there is nothing more beautiful than I could have done in this world. So starting to work with my clients and seeing them, people who didn't have a regular meditation practice, now integrate that and have them tell me how much that affected something, like them having an interview that day, or just feeling better when they started the day, because instead of their mindset being in, oh, another day that I have to go through, they wake up with peace. They start their day with that.
Mm-hmm.
Freaking amazing.
Well, you know, we as all as yoga teachers have caught those glimpses of appreciation from our students. You know, let's say that they attended our yoga class 2 days before, and they're coming back and they're like, hey, you know, I attended your class. I actually slept through the whole night, first time in 3 years. And it's like, we love those experiences, but guess what? It often ends there, because we're often just going from one group class or one offering to the next, and we're not going deeper with our students, like in a more committed way. And that's what's so beautiful about having a signature program, is because your students are there for true transformation. They have the true intention of changing their life. They're going through a breakup or a separation or a divorce right now, the clients that you deal with, and you're taking them from a state of suffering to, you know, bringing them to a state of peace. And to be with them in that journey, to be with them step by step, and to see them truly change their life, there is nothing more rewarding on this earth than when you get to see that light turn on in your client's eyes and they finally begin to see a way out of their suffering. And, you know, I'm so glad that you've been able to experience like these mindset shifts, Kerry. I'm so glad that you're doing, you know, what you feel like you were called to do. And that's what we're here at Grow Yoga Biz to teach people how to do, is to truly honor what's in their heart, what's their passion, who they want to serve, and give their clients, their students, a program that allows them to make that change. And that's what all of this is about. That's what all this is about, is truly just changing lives. And the way that we do that is we first give people really good content, like a webinar, and then simply invite them to go one step further and to book a call. And none of this is about being salesy. None of this is about manipulation or Jedi mind tricks. It's simply about having faith that if you give really good content, that the right people are going to show up and want to work with you. And
Absolutely.
Kerry, I'm so grateful for you. I mean, like, honestly, like, to see you evolve in such a short period of time, it's just been really beautiful. And it's just a kind of the icing on the cake, is to not only change as a person, but now that icing, like, is just to get clients. And it's just the culmination, you know? If you're willing to dive in, you know, and if you're willing to dive into a program, give it your all, and implement it to change your own life, that's often what's required in order for you to attract clients who are willing to do the same thing. And that's what you've done. That's what you've done.
Thank you so much.
We could go on and on and on. I mean, Kerry, thank you so much for your time, just to even go over kind of your process of what you've gone through in this program. I mean, I'm so grateful for you. And again, thank you so much for doing the talk today. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely, Ryan. Thank you. I can't thank you enough, truly, from my heart. There are no words.
Well, on behalf of me and Kerry, thanks so much for joining us. Much love.